hello again, and welcome to the last of my reflections on building a rule of life. I wonder how you're getting on, whether you've taken that blank piece of paper, whether you've had a go, maybe brainstormed it, maybe talked it through with somebody you know. What are the things that could be life-giving for you? Because there's no such thing as a standard rule of life, it's very personal. And sometimes just taking that first step is the most difficult. There's a writer called Robert Macfarlane, who's a Cambridge academic, who writes some wonderful books about language and landscape and the relationship between the two. And he wrote a book called The Old Ways, in which he set out on a series of journeys on foot, using the old roads, pathways, travelling much slower than our current, well, maybe not our current, but our usual modes of transport, motorways, high-speed trains, aeroplanes. And it's a powerful and moving book because he's rediscovering ways that have become overgrown. Some of his descriptions involve some quite physical work, clearing the undergrowth, getting rid of the growth and the accretion of many years' neglect. And I guess sometimes thinking about our spiritual life can be like that. When life's going well, we don't always think about it. It's only when we are confronted with a great challenge that we have to do something about it. And taking that first step might initially be a challenge because we have to do a bit of clearing. It can be slow work. This is no quick fix. There's no way in which this will yield instant results because we're clearing a path. Remember I said the other day that a rule of life is like a signpost. It points in a direction, but it helps us to take those steps, to journey. And that journey, of course, is both an interior journey deep into your heart and an exterior journey manifested in its fruits. But the inner journey matters. We need to know where the well is that will refresh us, that we can drink from. We need to know how to access it. We need to give it time. And that's why in a rule of life, as I've been suggesting, we need to give attention to those things which sing for us, that energize us, that draw us to a sense of otherness. Because one thing about a rule of life is it's not a set of resolutions like we make at New Year. The danger of that is that they become simply things that we do. Our ego can be very pleased with resolutions. But a rule of life is, in a sense, setting out into the deep, going on an adventure. We don't know where it will lead, and we're not in control. We simply have a framework that helps us take those first tentative steps. And the rest is grace. The rest is God's goodness. The rest is that divine presence that promises to be with us. So the interior journey needs to be in some way reflected, and that'll be different for different people. But don't forget the exterior, the external. In the Bible, the writer James says, faith without works is dead. How we speak, how we act, what we do is an expression of what our faith is all about. The inner journey is often very silent, personal. It's not private because we're always in community. But often words cannot convey what's going on. But in the world of words, of communication, that's where the fruit of our rule of life will yield rewards. And it may be for some of us we have to put a little bit of a discipline on our words. This is a challenge for preachers, for those who like to speak. But the Bible says in the book of Ecclesiastes there is a time to keep silent and a time to speak. A rule of life helps us. And one final thing. if you set out on this journey of adopting a rule of life, you will fail. And that is good. You will trip up and you will need to return to the start again. Many people in the traditional rule of life have a little space for confession, whether formally with a minister or with a priest, or as an informal exercise in self-examination. Because we know, the tradition tells us, we will get it wrong, we will fail, our ego will let us down. But we are not dispirited. We start again. We learn. We learn to draw from the wellspring of grace. And failure keeps us humble, which literally means close to the earth. Reminds us we're part of the creation with all its tensions, with all its what we call fallenness. We are grounded. This is not a counsel of perfection. And so I pray that as you take those tentative steps, you will both fail and succeed. Fail because it will remind you you need God's grace, but also succeed because you are going on a great journey. If any want to follow this up and want to contact me, I can send you some documents that will just flesh all this out a bit. But I do pray that whatever your journey consists of, whatever direction it goes in, you will know joy, peace, and be blessed. Now, these are the last of these messages I'll be sharing for a little while, because next week is Holy Week. And I'll post on our Facebook page what we're proposing for Holy Week. Tomorrow is Saturday and I shall be taking a day off because a rule of life also has to include periods when we don't work, of leisure, of recreation. So I pray that God will bless you and that you will know his life at work in your life, his hope at work in the deepest places of your being, and his love overflowing so that you can be a blessing to others. Take those steps, clear the undergrowth, move forward, and may God bless you.